Good evening, everybody, and thanks a lot for coming to tonight's work session. Subtle reminder, please silence your electronic devices during the meeting. That way we can be respectful to each other and address the matters at hand. And then as a matter of transparency, all the videos and all of our minutes and things are available on the county website. There seems to be some discrepancy on that. So just to clarify, yes, everything is on there. Going forward, has always been. So at that point in time. You guys have a copy of the March 23 commission meeting. They've been distributed to you. Does anybody have any amendments or anything to that? Do you see? No. Moving on. Are there any announcements that need to be made from the floor? Wow, good deal. If there's anybody here that wants to speak to anything this evening, please sign in at the podium and we'll be calling you to come up and speak at the proper time. I don't see anybody running for that either. Do you have anything for us, Mr. Mayor, this evening?
Not tonight, but if any commissioner has something they'd want me to address next Monday night, I'll be glad to. If you have any question about the progress on some things that are going on, if you will see me between now and next week, we'll address those then.
Thanks. Does anybody have any questions for the mayor? Okay, moving on. Our active business this month, our appointment, as far as appointments goes, yes, David.
Before we get on to that, under committee reports, budget and finance, Chris was referring to the new budget talks this year. We're going to be starting the first week of May. So I'm going to postpone the codes and zoning meeting that is scheduled that first week, that Tuesday. I will reach out to the members and reschedule that so that we all can attend those meetings.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thanks. Regarding active business, mayor needs to reappoint Chief Buckmaster as interim fire chief for an additional 90 days. The commission will need to take action on this at the April 27th meeting. Yes.
Sorry, just to expand on Mr. Thomas's point. I've been told should get the draft budget proposal by the end of this week, and once I get that, I will set budget hearings and we'll send everything to each member. So hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have those set.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Is anybody else? Yes, Amber?
About the appointment. Are we going to put an advertisement in the newspaper for a chief, or how many times are we going to extend for Ken?
I think at this point that I'm really satisfied with Mr. Buckmaster. I don't know that we're going to open it up for bids. I mean, at this point.
Is anybody else? Go ahead, Amber.
Sorry, I thought we had to. If it's a public appointment.
Mr. Beller, you might answer that.
Thank you. Does anybody else? Okay, moving on, this month, resolutions. Resolution 2026-06840 Highway Department weight limit on county roads, which is on page 23 of your packets. The Highway Department is setting a 15-ton limit on Beasley's Bend Road. Are there any questions or concerns from the commission regarding this one? Thank you. Also, it'll be resolution 2026-07841. ECD road name, Mini Micro Little Pond and Cattle Path. These are on page 25 of your packets. And this is for the 911 board. They are going to be naming these 4 private drives for emergency purposes for identification. Does anybody have any questions from the regarding this one? Yes, Beverly.
I'm sorry, I have a question for the previous one.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're just doing that for Beasley's Bend. Are we going to be doing that for any other roads in the county? Or will we have to do a separate resolution for each road? The reason I'm asking is because Freers Bend Road is and down through Boat Dock where Enbridge has been running up through there, it's tore up just as bad as what Beasley's Bend is
Yes.
and some of the other county roads.
Counselor?
My understanding, there was an engineering study done on that particular portion,
Okay,
and that's the reason for the weight limits, and the minimum standards. I think Collier Engineering did the study on that, and that I actually stemmed from that particular lawsuit. As far as whether or not Enbridge is going to compensate county for the damage they do to the roads, that's mayor's something they've agreed to do, that they would be doing that for the roadway damage. So I think they're in the position to do that at some point.
Righty. Yes, Landon.
How does this affect agriculture as well? That's an agriculture area with a lot of farming, a lot of large farming, row crops. So I mean, you've got semis that are hauling grain a couple times a year. Before we vote something of this nature, and we're an agricultural town, and this is an agricultural area. So be careful what we're
It doesn't,
pushing.
it doesn't take long to get to 15 ton pretty quick in a.
That's what I'm getting at very quickly.
Yes. Anybody else? Yes, David.
So, Mr. Beller, for clarification purposes, the Beasley's Bend that you're referring to is the road on the other side of the river, correct? And most of that is become residential, and they're the ones that were complaining about this from the construction that was running in and out of there. That's why we're doing this?
Well, there was I don't know, that's just something I think the highway department presented. I don't think that's something that we are doing that. Is that correct, Ms. Amy? That's correct. So, they wanted that resolution to that effect. So, as far as that particular, we're in a lawsuit, so I don't want to comment too much on a public mic about the ongoings, of that lawsuit. But, I will say there's an extensive amount of damage that had been done as a result of the named defendants in that lawsuit. So I don't know, I can't speak to normal wear and tear of agriculture, vehicles. That's not been an issue to my knowledge so far.
I guess my question is, does it become an issue when we put a 15-ton road limit and we don't have a 15-ton road limit anywhere in the, you got some bridges that say 7-ton or 6-ton or whatever. But when we put this in statute, we start that movement going in that direction. We're an agricultural community.
following up with what Landon's speaking on, and I can't answer this, maybe somebody else here can. What would be a load of grain? I guess different grains are gonna weigh different amounts.
I think 80,000 pounds is legal. And most of the time, when they're hauling grain, they're not even legal.
Truck hauling grain. And we're putting 15.
Is anybody else? Okay. Backing up, because we did move a bit. Did anybody have anything on the 2026-07-841 on page 25, which was the renaming for 911? Does anybody have anything on that one? We didn't finish that. Okay, thanks. Yes, Landon.
Just to give Commissioner Carmen was spot on, 80,000 with a 10% tolerance above that allowed. So that's 40 to 44 tons allowed legally.
Right. Thank you. Anybody else? that definitely will take some look. We'll have to look at that. All right. Ordinances, we will hold a public hearing, second reading on 3 ordinances this month. Ms. Mayan is present. She's at the podium now to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. This public hearing and second reading will be on, first one is on page 30, which is ordinance 341-2026-03, which is the rezoning A1 to HI1, parcel 019014000 on Halltown Road. Rosalie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I know last month there was some discussion on whether or not there was proper signage following the ordinances that we have. Those signs have been in place and have been for the last month. They have met the sign ordinance. They do have one sign over on Halltown and one sign over on New Halltown as well. Just going back, my office has had some questions about what is allowed in an industrial zone. So anything that's allowed in a commercial zone within the urban services will also be allowed in the industrial zone as well. They do have sewer, they do have city water. They are, as we'll see in the next ordinance, asking to be annexed, so they will be in the city limits. There has been some discussion on what they would be allowed to have out there and what they wouldn't be allowed to have out there. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinance 342-2026-04, which is the annexation of parcel 0190140 Halltown Road, again, which is on page 35. Did anybody have any else further? Okay, then lastly, on page 38, you're going to find ordinance 343-2026-05, rezoning C1 to I1 to C1 I1 to HC1 on parcel 019KB01902 on Broadway. Ms. Rosalie.
Again, thank you. So as you see on this parcel of land, we did have 2 different zones. So they would like to just combine the zones and have it be classified as urban services, indicating the H, so HC1. This did receive a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. It is near, and it has all the different C1 properties right by it as well. So it just is very logical. Our downtown area is growing. Hartsville is growing.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything for her on that? Next up, we'll have a first reading of ordinance 344-2026-06, which is our wheel tax implementation. The ordinance is to implement a wheel tax. This draft has all proceeds going to Fund 171 capital projects, sets the rate at $80 for vehicles and $50 for antiques and special designations. So please read through the document and reach out to Ms. Crowder or Mr. Beller if you have any questions on that one. Are there any questions tonight that need to be addressed regarding this? Yes, Chris.
Not a question, just a statement, just a reminder from last month. Of course, it seemed like the will of the commission was to have this all go toward jail, which as written currently, it technically does not. It just goes into 171. So we can amend that next week to specify that it would all, assuming that is still our intention, that it would all go toward jail. Am I correct on that?
That's the way I understood it, yes. If it, the way I understood it, if it passed, then we would just do an amendment, we would do an amendment on it right there on the spot to steer it to 171. Yes, David.
So when you're reading this, section 5 says 100% goes to Fund 171. The next paragraph, provisions of this ordinance shall be redistributed to general capital projects upon successful paying off payment of the jail debt. Does that not say that it goes to the jail first and then when the jail's paid for, it goes elsewhere?
That's what I understood, yeah. Yes. Judy?
Can you explain? I'm hoping we as a group will pass the wheel tax instead of it go to vote. Is the way we decide that is we vote, and if it passes, it passes, and if it doesn't, it goes to vote?
No,
Okay.
no, if we will vote on it, if it passes, yes.
What makes the decision if it goes to public vote?
Wouldn't that be wouldn't they take a, yeah, I want you to answer that for us, Counselor.
There has to be there's a statute on provisions that I'm doing it all from memory, so I think it's 10% of the last gubernatorial election is the amount of people that would have to sign a petition in order to pull it to referendum. I believe that's correct. And then you've got to make sure we frame the issue properly, and there's certain time constraints with it. But I believe that's the general mechanism.
So we're gonna vote on the way.
Right.
Is if someone gets up a.
Right.
Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Sorry, just one other question. Since it requires a two-third vote to approve, if it doesn't get 2/3, would we be able to amend it and choose to send it to a referendum if that was the will of the body, or would it having failed, would that kill it?
Counselor?
You're asking if someone makes a motion to approve it as written and it doesn't get the 2/3, that's required the supermajority. And then you're asking if a secondary motion is made to send it to referendum. Let me look at that a little bit. I don't think that takes 3 readings, but let me make sure about that, okay?
Okay, well, my question wasn't necessarily would that take 3 readings, I guess. Would we even be allowed to do that? I guess since technically we would have defeated it.
If we defeat it.
If it doesn't get 2/3, I guess it's considered defeated. Would we be able to bring it back up in an amended version, was my question.
Yeah, you have to amend the language in order to do that. Somebody's gonna have to amend it before you do that. Yeah. I think you're right.
You want to speak?
We're just having
We're having a sidebar on this, and so what it sounds like is we'd have to have a resolution in place to add that verbiage. No, if you wanted to go to, if it failed, if you wanted it to go to referendum, then you would have to have that verbiage in there before it failed. There would have to be a resolution for that to be in there before it failed, because once it fails, you can't bring it back up. It's over. If it fails,
The commission would fail it, but you could put forth a resolution with the language to referendum, so it's 2 different actions.
well, it's 2 different actions.
I think you're right. I need to kind of anticipate that we may want to have.
Thank you. Anybody else? I think he's gonna look into that, but I think we're gonna be okay with the resolution. Should we need it? Yes, Jerry?
According to section 8 here, note 9, tell them about putting us in here for 40 years. 40 years, about everybody in here will be dead and gone. And we'll be leaving this up to our grandchildren, children and grandchildren to pay for it. I've lived through a 20-year and it worked well, done what it was supposed to do. I think 25 years is a little long on that.
It's a
Not only
sizable, it's a bigger amount of money. It's gonna take longer to pay off. I think, what was the terms on the loans we were looking at, Landon, if you could remember? Like 30, 40 years, something like that? 20, 30, 40 were the terms?
Depends on the amount of money.
Will?
Mr. Chairman, if I remember correctly, initially, it was $35 million on a 40-year term. That would cost the county a little better than $2 million where interest rates were 2 years ago. $2 million annually for 40 years. Mr. Ford just confirmed an argument that I've had in a lot of these discussions. Putting a 40-year sunset on it doesn't make any difference. I'm not going to be sitting here by the time it's paid off anyway. It's something we've got to have. And here's where we are.
Jerry?
I didn't hardly get through there. One of the reasons I brought that up, I asked the question tonight, what we owe now, when would it be paid off? And she said 37. That's 11 years from now. Everything we got out there right now should be erased. So everything that's coming in now and going into debt service could go into that. 40 years is a long time to put a burden on you people. I think it's too long. I think we ought to take a good look at that.
Thank you, Jerry. Anybody else have anything? Yes, David.
Well, if the terms of the loan for the jail is 40 years, and just like we did the high school, it took 25 years to pay the high school off, that's what they sunsetted it, then 40 years would be your sunset. If you're going to put a sunset, my position is the same as Will's. What's the point? If you're going to have 40 years as the sunset, why have a sunset at all? But I'm not going to not vote for it because it has a 40-year sunset. Just the reasoning makes sense. That's what we did on the last wheel tax. It went for the duration of the loan. This one would be doing the same thing.
Jerry?
The last one went 20 years and it paid it off and had money left, which we gave to the school department. If you're gonna look at it like that, I agree with you about one thing. Don't even put a sunset on it. But it's not fair to the people not to put one on it. I've talked to a lot of people about it, and that's the one thing they seem to want, is to have some sort of an idea when it's gonna be paid off. At this point, we don't know what the jail's gonna cost. And right around the corner, it ain't many years down the road, we're going to add on the schools. That's coming, you can bet on that.
Understood. Do you have anything, Landon?
Just a slight point here. I want to make sure there's a separate in this conversation. The original wheel tax that was put in for the school paid the school note each year. The wheel tax we're discussing right now does not set to pay the note that we're looking at. Just making sure everybody understands it is a portion of a problem. That is, I want to be clear. I don't want people to think, hey, this paid for it. No, this paid for a portion of what it appears this jail is going to cost for 40 years. Just being clear. And remember this as well. That is just the structure of the jail, not funding the cost of employees in those pieces inside that. We were told clearly that when that jail is built, it takes more people to run it. That means that there are additional costs. So this is not a simple conversation. I'm just telling you what clearly has been stated to us.
Thank you, David.
And then that goes back to the point that I was making about not even having a sunset, because this isn't going to pay that debt. This is going to be contributing to the debt of all the capital outlays that we're going to have in the future. You know, building a new school, building this jail is our immediate, but we're going to have to be building new buildings as we grow. We're going to outgrow our current buildings. This is just a way of being able to help subsidize the property tax increases that will have to eventually come unless we can get enough industry in here to offset that. Enbridge is going to be a good start, but that one is going to decrease over time. So we're going to need something else in here to cover that decrease and give a little extra.
Thank you very much. Jerry?
I have the figures right here of what you can expect it to bring in. 23 to 24, 1123 to 1124 was 11,467 license bought. All right, to turn around and go from 1124 to 1125, it was 11,410 bought. So it's running a little over 11,000. So you can figure an $80 wheel tax from that about what it's going to bring in. Probably a little bit more than that because we have had more people move into the county. But that's about what you can expect from your wheel tax. And then of course we're getting 300 from out here. So that's $1 million, over $1 million right there. And as time goes on, Miss Amy can tell you this, that we have others debts that we're paying that's going to mature. And that money will be available in addition to what Enbridge is bringing in. So, you know, I can't foresee the future. I have no way, but it looks to me like the county's sitting in better shape than you might think it is. But we need this wheel tax, folks.
Yes, we do. Thank you. Anybody else? Chris?
Yeah, just a couple of things to, Mr. Dennis mentioned the $35 million number. The mayor presented, I believe it was in February, I guess, and of course, this was a very preliminary estimate from the architect that had this 75 bed at about 19 million, and I think about another 10 if we chose to go adding the courts on there. So the wheel tax still may not pay all of it, but it may pay a greater percentage than what, than that original 2 million may wind up being a higher number than what it actually winds up being. Again, until we get firm numbers, we don't know for sure. But we also, in talking this over with our constituents, I think one thing we need to make sure to remind them, if a wheel tax is not part of this equation, if we don't pass it, or if it doesn't pass, whether it passes here or whether it passes a referendum, whatever, if wheel tax is not part of the equation, if it is that $2 million a year number, that was looking at what, 65 cents property tax. That's a huge spike. So, we need to tell our people, pick your poison. Do you want everybody contributing to it, or do you want, what's it, Mr. Ford likes to say, 43% of the people funding that?
Well, here's my thinking on that too. If I'm renting an apartment and I don't pay property taxes, I'm not going to vote myself another tax for nothing. I'm going to throw it off on somebody else. And with the numbers as tight as they are, Mr. Ford brought them up several times. 40% or so of people in Charles County pay property taxes. That means that the property owners are already in a hole to begin with. And like Mr. Dennis said, you're talking about having the extra money. He's talking about it at the lower interest rate 3 or 4 years ago. If I'm not mistaken, it's probably 2 points higher now. And that's quite a bit of money on $35 million.
Thank you. Jerry?
Just one other point on the wheel tax. We allowed everybody in the county to pay for that school. Not just the property owners, everybody in the county paid for that high school down there. If we don't do this, you talking about putting a burden on the property owners, you're gonna lay one on them big time.
Understood. Thank you. Anybody else before we move on? Thank you. Next, we're going to be talking about ordinance this month, ordinance 345-2026-07, which is to rescind burning restrictions. This ordinance is to rescind the burn restrictions set by the county to rely on the state guidelines instead, which was established by the Tennessee Division of Forestry. This ordinance has been recommended by Chief Buckmaster, First Response Committee, and Codes and Zoning Committee. Does anybody have anything they'd like to speak to that? That's on page 45. David?
Yeah, so we put this forward out of Codes and Zoning after Emergency Services looked at it. We worked on a burn permit system for, I don't know, over a year. And when Mr. Buckmaster became the acting chief, he brought this to me, and this fixes everything. This answers every question that everyone had of who would enforce it, who's going to, who's going to do the permits, everything. If we rescind the current burn permit that we have, which has no language that goes with it, then the state can take this over. And so just like everyone does in the county, the city will do the same thing, going to the forestry system, get your permit through them, and you're good to go. It just makes it easy, cut and dry. It fixes everything. It gives us a burn permit for the city, which any of the insurance and regulations that follow that, we meet, we're good to go.
Thanks. Chris?
One question, the Section 4 effective date, when First Response heard this, we were asked to change that to have it take effect on October 15th. The reason being because the state system, the state requires burn permits from, I believe it was October 15th through May 15th. Was that changed at Codes and Zoning as well, David?
Mm-mm.
Yes, coming out of Codes and Zoning, it was supposed to be changed to October. We discussed that and voted on that. That should have been changed also. So needs to be corrected before next Monday.
Mm-hmm. Great. Do you have anything, Amber?
We voted the same thing about the October 15th. That's
Yeah.
all I have on it.
Thanks. Next for consideration will be ordinance 346-2026-08, which is rezoning A1 to TC1. This is parcel 029-021-01 on Highway 25. This is on page 46 in your packets. Miss Rosalie, could you speak to this for us, please?
Yes, sir. So if you'll see the picture of the parcel, it is a long, slender parcel there along Highway 25 going towards the intersection of 231 and Highway 25. Most of that corridor right there, that whole corner is C1, which out in the county is totally commercial, which also allows for residential use. Looking at this, the Planning Commission gave it a favorable recommendation because down at the lower end, and you'll be able to see with a lovely colored map on the other side of this, is that this parcel does touch C1 property as well as R1 property. So given that information, the Planning Commission felt that it does meet the qualifications to be able to be zoned C1.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions regarding this? Yes.
I just have a quick
Linda?
question. Where is the touching the C1? I see where the,
Flip your page to the next one.
just trying to, because I see where like the storage is. Right there. Okay.
It's down at the very bottom of the parcel of land. And I'd also like to note that the rezoning sign has also stayed in place as required by our ordinance for to be able to be come before you for the vote.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything? Appreciate that. Next, we have budget amendments. The budget amendments being presented to the, which are to appropriate grant funding for the end of year cleanup of line items. Mr. Gregory, is there anything you need to add to this?
No, some of these are grants, some are end of year cleanup. Do you want me to go through each of them real quick?
You can if you need to. Otherwise, these, like I said, these can all be taken in one action.
Okay.
But these are in your packets. I mean, do you have the page numbers? If not, I got them.
Pages 54 through
58.
59.
Yeah.
But again, all these were recommended unanimously from Budget and Finance. So they're all either grant or internal transfers.
Exactly. If anybody needs to have anything called out at this time, otherwise you can review them if you'd like, and then we could look at them next week or next meeting rather. Thank you. Other business, anybody have anything? Yes, Miss Rosalie.
As you know, when we created the combined ordinances, we also created two different zoning that is now available, the PUD and the CM PUD. Next month during the BZA, we'll be conducting a training on what the PUD zone is, how someone can apply for it, and what the process is. And the county commission will be part of that process. You are invited to come to the training. It's at 6 o'clock. It is the second Monday of the month. I'll be sending out an email to everyone, and if you would like to come, please respond that you would like to, and we'll make sure that you have a training packet available.
Thank you. Amber, you had something?
Yeah, I was looking for the email. I can't find it at the moment. I don't know how many of us got the email of concerned citizens that are out by Starlight. They're talking about a quarry again.
Does anybody have anything to speak to that? I mean, Amy or David. Hey, David, I know you brought this up, so you can. Yeah, please.
See, I also got the same email from two different constituents.
I got 7 of them.
Yeah. So what I have found is the company that's wanting to come in on Starlight has already been shot down by the Tennessee Environmental Services for permitting twice. So the state's not even letting them come in. Because of our ordinances that we have that have already gone through all the way up to the appeals court, you cannot put a quarry on agricultural property. There is no M1 in the Starlight area unless you get over to PowerCom. So unless it gets rezoned, and this body has the only authority to do that, there is no quarry coming in on Starlight Hill. There is a temporary quarry that was used for the construction of 141, but that was through the state. That was Jones Brother doing that. They bought that piece of property that you couldn't do anything with. It wouldn't perk. The Carmen sold them that land so that they could get gravel out of that for this construction. We don't have any control over that. That's TDOT doing that. But as far as a private industry coming in, we've already gone through the legal process. Planning's already done everything they're supposed to do. We made sure, Mr. Beller read over it multiple times, when the new combined zoning, nothing was left out. All that we had put in place to clarify any zoning for quarries is in our current codes and zoning.
Thank you, Miss Rosalie.
Thank you, sir. The research that I've done, I've spoke with the Department of Mineral and Geological from TDEC, and yes, they were not able to get clean water out there, which is part of the permit that they had applied for back in December. It was after it had failed twice, as Mr. Thomas had said, the company has withdrawn the application for the permit. I have also spoke with and have a call into the air pollution with TDEC. TDEC has 8 different divisions. So just like Jones Brothers had purchased that other piece of property, there was some rumors, shall we say, that they were maybe looking into purchasing this other parcel of land as well and adding to the burrow pit that they have established on the other property. I did speak with the project director for Jones Brothers for this entity, and he assured me that they were not looking to purchase any other property to establish a borrow permit for this. So again, as David has said, that it doesn't seem to be like there's going to be a rock quarry out there. If they had been able to get the clean water permit approved, they would have been able to have sold the rock that they would have been able to crush and make gravel with to the public. So with them not being able to get clean water, that is a moot point at this time.
Thank you. Does anybody else? Chris?
Sorry, just one question for Mr. Bella real quick. Of course, last month we authorized or gave a direction with the contract negotiations with Core Civic. Are you able to give any update on that?
I will give you a brief update. How's that? And I'd rather do it here than on the floor of our next meeting. I did reach out via correspondence to Commissioner Strata. I did receive a phone call back from their general counsel that they would follow up with our requests. I didn't take it negative or positive. There's a lot of movement in the General Assembly. I'm not keeping up to date with it, but I have people that are reporting back to me and telling me how things are going. So a lot of discussions over TDOC and Core Civic and other issues. I was able to meet with Core Civic and discuss some of the items. And likewise, it may be a while before we hear back. There's a lot of, like I said, discussions in the General Assembly right now that I think is going to affect the way they do things. Does that answer your question?
And then one last thing, Mr. Beller, can you please address the commission concerning the tower lease? You did earlier with Budget and Finance, but now for everybody.
Let me get my notes back out so I can read off of it. And this is all pretty fresh from today. Recently, I received a proposed lease agreement with the state of Tennessee for the Tennessee Advanced Communications Network. They are with the Department of Safety and Homeland Security. I read the agreement. And it didn't come directly to me, but came, I believe, maybe through law enforcement or through our director of our EMS. I reviewed it. They want a 45-year lease on a piece of property off of Morrison Street that we believe there may be a tower there already, but that the property that belongs to the county. They want to construct a cell tower for the purposes of expanding their statewide communication services, which deals with TBI and highway patrol. So they've received funding to do that, and their engineers located a spot that would be ideal in Charleston County for them. And so again, like I said, they want a 45-year lease, and through my conversations with their general counsel, Casey Goggin, we had discussed, like I would normally ask, is what are we getting out of it? And we get a cell tower. But through our discussions, though, seriously, I asked, well, let's just assume for one moment that we had use for maybe the use of the cell tower for our own EMS or our own law enforcement or EMA or whomever, fire and rescue. She indicated that we could do a user agreement, and a user agreement would allow us to use that. Now, I know there's a project right now that is in before this body of discussion, but it just makes it food for thought with what we're doing as far as building our own versus a ready-made build with no expense to us, and so there's just a user agreement. I asked her, well, what the timetable is, when do they need to know something? And she indicated by the end of August. So again, I have very limited knowledge. I think we had discussed maybe having at the law enforcement committee meeting next week to have, try to get Director Beatty here and maybe Chief Cothran to have some conversations. Maybe they can enlighten the committee a little bit more about that. So that's where that is right now. Well, the 45-year user agreement, the 45-year lease and a 45-year user agreement are all negotiable. I asked that very question, are we locked into 45 years? And she said no. So that's something for discussions as well, if that is even something that's even important.
Thank you very much. I got a question for our law enforcement individuals here, first responders. Are we a county that utilizes the FirstNet network? Do you guys know? Do you know, Shane? Okay, so FirstNet is the sideband carrier that all cell phone carriers such as T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, et cetera, Sprint, everybody uses. They have to use it. It takes precedent over cellular bandwidth. I've engineered about 4 of their repeater systems in the past. That would be something if we were a FirstNet subscriber, that all individual cell phones would have an eSIM activated in their phones. So when you pick it up to make an emergency call, if you're at a ball game somewhere and there's so much cell traffic, I'm sure you've been there, where you can't get a message or a phone call out, theirs takes precedent and goes through in emergency situations. Also, that portion of the tower carrier system does run on battery backup and things of that nature in case of disaster. But I was wondering if we were a FirstNet subscriber or not. David?
Lonnie, using your expertise, the existing tower that, I don't know if it's still in use or not, that was up on Morrison, could that tower be moved to Gravelly Hill to give us, because what we're needing a new tower for is expanded coverage in that end of the county. Could that tower be moved if we're using the one if we're able to use the one the state builds? So it would help cost on building the new tower.
Well, taking down a tower and moving it is pretty expensive versus what it takes to actually erect one. But like I said, the FirstNet system, if anywhere that you can get AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint, T-Mobile, FirstNet will light up on a phone that's activated with it. But this should give you more coverage, more bars, so to speak. Amber? Okay. Well, I was curious because that would be a big benefit, but if not, I understand. Might be something to look at in the future. It'll work. It works always everywhere, just so you know.
That it would cover the area of the county that we don't.
I'm not saying anything of the sort. I'm saying this is something that is food for thought, something that needs to be looked at. It may not be feasible. I have zero working knowledge with regard to things like FirstNet coverage and things of that nature. So it's just something that this body to inquire about. Chris?
Just to clarify, I think the discussion on the need for a new tower was not about you and me being able to access emergency services. It was that when raised deputies are out on the western side of the county, there are areas where their radios are out of contact with dispatch. So it was about trying to expand
Understood.
their
And
access as opposed
just so
to.
you know that the FirstNet enacted eSIMs. When they get themselves in that situation, it will work.
Oh, so you're saying their radios in theory would work as well, or
I
just
don't
cell
know if
phones?
their radios have a eSIM sideband on them or not. If some do. But I will tell you that if they didn't, they could pick up their phone and use their phone in place of a radio. Those things work everywhere. As long as you've got that eSIM activated. Anything else? Thank you, everybody. I know it's been a long one, but we got a lot we got through. Be careful going home and look for a motion to adjourn. Got a motion and a second. Be careful.